Do you like Jesus? Of course you do. And if you're a Christian, he's more than just a good role model. He is the Word of God. So, what do you do with that whole turn the other cheek thing? Jesus gets his disciples together on that hill at the Chorazim Plateau and tells them, if someone strikes you on one cheek, turn to him the other cheek as well. Okay, if you're a Christian who believes Jesus is declaring an ethic of nonviolence, you've got two choices, neither one of which is all that great. Number one, you could say, yeah, well, it's a nice ideal, but living here in the real world, I won't be following that. Okay, but then admit you're not a follower of Jesus. Number two, you could say, okay, I'll do it. But then you know some follow-up questions are coming. What are you going to do when someone breaks into your house and threatens you and your family? Gently hug him and encourage him to rethink his life choices? Call the police? Okay. In which case you're outsourcing the violence to others, letting other people do immoral acts of violence on your behalf. That doesn't sound like the moral high ground. And do you really want to say that all law enforcement and military personnel are engaged in immoral occupations as they put themselves in harm's way to protect you? So, if you don't want to be the first kind of hypocrite, or the second kind of hypocrite, I've got some good news for you. Jesus wasn't teaching an absolute ethic of nonviolence. I mean, think about it. His disciples spent years with him, carrying swords for self-protection, and Jesus never said anything. When Peter did pull out his sword to stop Jesus' arrest, Christ didn't reply, "Hey, what the Gehenna? Have you had that thing the whole time?" No, he told him to put it back into its sheath. Not get rid of it, not beat it into a plowshare, but put it back in its sheath. The arrest in the Garden of Gethsemane was not justification for violence. Certain things needed to happen. Also, Jesus was a Jew. Sorry, Klan members. And the Jews were a people who went to war, practiced capital punishment, and permitted self-defense. His interpretations of Jewish law were often different, but he wasn't throwing out the whole thing. Now, back to the Sermon on the Mount. The problem with our understanding of this teaching is that it has often been translated poorly. The word often translated strike is rapisto, which actually means to slap. Jesus told his followers, if someone slaps you, turn the other cheek. He wasn't talking about self-defense. Look, if someone's trying to knock you out or take your head off with a tire iron, Jesus would want you to at least duck. He's not telling you to stand there and get killed. Jesus is talking about getting slapped. And what, after all, is a slap most of the time? No, not this kind of slapping. A slap is usually an attack on your dignity. Jesus was not telling his disciples, if someone's going to beat the crap out of you, just take it. He was telling them, if there's an attack on your honor, your dignity, your ego, even one as sharp as a slap across the face, don't retaliate. Don't escalate. Have the strength to let it go. And something more that I missed for a long time. He doesn't tell them to just stand there, but think about it. Turn the other cheek. As if to say, after you have been wronged in this way, offer the person the other cheek. This isn't about being weak and passive. Consider the effect of being struck, standing there, and then offering the other cheek, literally or metaphorically. It communicates a lot about your own strength. It also says a great deal about the one who struck you. You demonstrate yourself to be a person of self-control and resilience, and you will have likely prevented a spiraling down of behavior that may well hurt other people as well as yourself. This idea of passive strength has a long history in Christianity. Early Christians in the arena won over countless converts because of the stoic courage they showed in the face of death. They weren't cowards. This is why it was said, the blood of the martyrs is the seed of the church. Martin Luther King Jr. recognized that the dignity of standing up to abuse at a lunch counter, on a bus, or in a march does far more to win one's cause than burning this mother down. People today need to think about that. Not only is it a more virtuous response, but it wins over far more people. It can even win over your enemies. Don't believe me? Ask Daryl Davis. Returning to the original question, and that Jesus wasn't proclaiming a universal ethic of nonviolence. Don't get it twisted. Not, sweet, I can be a Christian and still kick ass. Don't skip over the mandate for peacemaking too quickly. Just as Dr. King believed that we can use violence in self-defense, we are also called to lives of peacemaking. The question isn't, am I allowed to fight back? But rather, how can my actions achieve a greater peace? Thinking through and acting on the basis of that moral imperative is endlessly challenging. So no, Jesus isn't asking you to be a pacifist, but he is telling you to check your ego and your pride on a regular basis. Stop responding to hate with hate, spite with spite, insult with insult. Instead, demonstrate yourself to be a person who controls your passions and emotions, not one who is controlled by them. Read the Stoics, practice self-discipline, cultivate control, strategize, and become the person who stops spirals of destruction. That's what it means to turn the other cheek.